2004, Konami developed and released Metal Gear Solid 3: Snake Eater for the Sony PlayStation 2. The game was supposed to clear up any miscommunications or unresolved plot details about the original main Metal Gear Solid story timeline for gamers. Hideo Kojima did not disappoint, as aside from the first Metal Gear Solid itself, Snake Eater is considered the pinnacle of the series in terms of character portrayal, character interactions, and character development from gamers whom had experienced the installment when first released, on from Kojima himself when asked about the developing experience. With everything considered, at the conclusion of the game, the plot has it that everything begins from that point at the end of the game chronologically. Even though Hideo Kojima originally intended to have this third installment as the final Metal Gear Solid game, there was massive fan demand to continue this story. Kojima established Snake Eater as the first chronological Metal Gear Solid game, as mentioned, but fans had questions about the continuation of the series from after Sons of Liberty. Kojima did mention in interviews at the time, while there were aspects of an unresolved plot post Sons of Liberty, he did not think that they needed to be conclusively answered, as the Sons of Liberty did somewhat end the series. Due to wanting to definitively finish his work from the Sons of Liberty ending and fan demand for more, Guns of the Patriots would be made as a result of this. When details of the game emerged, it somewhat divided fans on what the future of the Metal Gear Solid timeline or even series would be with Guns of the Patriots. The game divided many longtime fans with the story, premise, and most of all, the concept of a quote-unquote old Solid Snake. In all prior games, Snake had been depicted as a young and stoic soldier, but with Guns of the Patriots, he's older, unsure of his ability to fight, and solemn about the end of his life. There were divided views on the premise of Kojima implementing and using an older version of Solid Snake, as the premise was interesting to some, but what was eventually produced did alienate most gamers whom had played the game upon release, and even those who had heard of the game afterwards. It was explained as to how Snake had aged so rapidly from after Sons of Liberty to Guns of the Patriots. The reason was told that it was due to him being a clone of Big Boss, whom was starting to decay, with his body as a literal expiration date was written into his genetic code when he was created during the Les Enfants Terribles project. It was also mentioned that the nanomachines in his body were also now not working correctly and further deteriorating and enhancing his bodily deterioration as well. Throughout a good portion of the gaming experience, Kojima even had Snake mope through the game with an extraordinary amount of melancholy about his mortality, as gamers didn't think that was in character with the firm and strong Solid Snake that had been portrayed for so many games prior to Guns of the Patriots. After the game's release, Old Snake immediately drew criticism from all sorts of gamers, as well as all sorts of critics for the sharp change in character for Snake in terms of his appearance, depiction, and interaction with other characters, and Kojima's conclusive decision as this being the final image or depiction of Snake for the final Metal Gear experience. What's now known is that Kojima's decisions and actions during the development of Guns of the Patriots, the so-called Old Snake, varied. Sources mention that the original idea for an older Snake was supposed to depict just the start of aging, as he would look visually similar to how he was depicted in prior games, or more likely Sons of Liberty, before the haggard, weathered, and wrinkled final appearance of Old Snake was made official in Guns of the Patriots. Years or even decades after the game's release, fans are still divided on the concept of an old Snake when mentioned in discussion, as many considered the implementation of the game or even the concept of an old Snake to be a mistake. Proof of this is that, as one of the top 10 YouTube search results relating to Metal Gear Solid 4 was, quote, Metal Gear Solid 4 was a mistake, end quote. A character can be overrated yet hated because they were not what fans expected or wanted for a final installment of a video game franchise.